Hi, and welcome back to my channel. It's Jess, and we're talking about my art and stuff. This month is Junk Journal January 2026, and I'm following all the prompts. Today, the 5th, is Echo. But I am not really going to do a page today. I'm going to do an update on where I am with my using all your stuff in 2026. It's one of my pledges that I've been thinking about for 2026, which is to use all my stuff before I buy any new stuff. Go into my stash. There's links, there's different things that I'm doing for the year down below in the description. But today we're learning, or you're coming on a journey with me about like how to use stuff that's just kind of sitting around and what to do about it. I often, as makers and creators, what we do is sit on stuff, right? We're waiting for the perfect time to use the stuff, whether it's a piece of paper or a kind of paint that we paid a lot of money for, or whatever it is. We're always waiting for the perfect time. And so, one of my motivations for this is to stop waiting for the perfect time and just use my materials instead of like buying stuff and buying stuff. That hoarder energy is strong with Jess. It's very strong. So what I did this week is I pulled out a phone book that I had from vacation. It was like yellow pages that I went to New Jersey over the summer, and I just pulled a telephone book from Ocean City, and that's what I used. And plus, I took out a box full of stuff that was just sitting on my bench already, like right next to my desk. Um, and the first video uh, of this series, the first video on January 1, I'll link it below or in somewhere in here. Um, I do show you where all that stuff is. So there's this huge box of materials, but I started with the box material, I started with telephone book, and I started with a bunch of boxes of paints. And so I did use those materials to sort of do the first few pages or to do some to start new journals. If you know the way I work here is I take a bunch of journals at once and I put in pages and I do painting pages. I paint some pages. I just don't like to start from zero on journals, so I just throw a bunch of stuff into the journals just to get started. And so I did it this time, but with more intention, with things that needed to be used up. So scraps from other projects, things I meant to be using, the ends of paints. That's kind of like what the goal of all this stuff was, is just kind of using stuff that's in my immediate area. And there'll be a little video right here that I'm going through that will show you the box that I was going through. I'm taking out some journals I had transferred. My chair is over there on the right, and I like to sit there with the chair. But you can kind of see there's like all kinds of stuff. There's wrappers from McDonald's. There's all kinds of like pieces of paper that were right next to me. There's stickers, there's like pages from journals, there's bags of ephemera that I've made, and just like all this kind of stuff. So I went through it all last night, and some of it I stuck into journals, and others of it I separated into different buckets. So I'll show you what I'm doing now. So I had all these materials to make tags that I never did. So what I'm going to do, I have this bag of like different stickers, and then I have this bag of grabby stuff. I have like little pieces of like packaging from like fast food and stuff. And then I have all of these things to make tags. So I'm gonna do a live. I'm gonna make there's also things to make envelopes in here. So I'm gonna take all the stuff that was in here and put it in this box specifically to do a live so that I can like get like, yeah, not get rid of, but get back on the habit of making tags and stuff to put inside pockets in journals, which I don't often do. It's not my first go to use materials, so I want to get back like into the habit or back in the habit of doing it. And then what else was in this? So one thing I do is if I love a book, I will go through the book. I will take everything out of the book that I like, and then I'll put it in a Ziploc bag. So I did that for like actually for 5 books, 5 different books, and I used all of it except for two. So I'll be using those up before, the end of the year. And then, or actually, I'm hoping to by the end of the month I have all that stuff done. And then these, all of these books and different things. Um, there's a bunch of different like magazines, and there was a coloring book of anatomy. So when I'm going to go through, what I'm going to do is go through these like I've gone through the little bags and create bags that I can use for, oh, for my journals. Oh, sorry to be so jarring, but I wanted to sort of show you what I've done so far. So this first portion, it's from the other day. Basically, I'm just taking pieces of paper from that phone book and I'm putting it into these different journals. Just trying to like give it space, you know, kind of pick pages that would look good or not good, and I don't, just making sure that things don't start from zero. Some of them are already done like ink on the on the telephone book paper, and some painting has already been done at this stage. Yeah, so again, I only put things in these journals with a glue stick because I want to make sure the paper is easy to manipulate once I get in there. As you can see, I've already started to put stuff in this journal. Magazines, different pieces of ephemera. I've already started to hit it with the telephone book pages. I've done a couple painted pages. And in a couple seconds here, you'll see me do a more robust version of the painted papers. But yeah, you get what I'm saying, right? Never go from zero on these things. Always start from somewhere, even if that somewhere is a ridiculous telephone book from Ocean City. Oh, goodness. All right, so these are all the paints that I chose to use for this part of the project. I have 3 other little berry pints full of paint that I'm going to use. But I use up all of these paints except for the neon green and the fluorescent blue, which is that little white tube. I still have those on the bench. I need to finish those up. But yeah, so what I'm doing is using the paint as a paint palette and taking, I can't get this, I'm remembering the frustration. I can't get that paint brush into that jar. I thought it was big enough. It wasn't. But I just open a journal and I use it as a paint palette because you know what? I only want to get a wash of color on some of these. And I just kind of want to, you know, get started, get going. And then, you know, throughout this entire section, I'm just going to be painting and drawing and painting and drawing. So I'm going to speed it up super fast. And you can watch that if you want. You can go through the process with me. But then I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you sort of the end result to all of this so that you can kind of see where I am right now with the journals. You probably could go to minute, oh, I don't know. I actually don't know. But you know what? We'll be back soon. I'll mark it out as a chapter if you wanna go straight to the section where we're no longer doing process, we're doing results. Well, I'm gonna set some music to this. I'll see you in just a second. And you'll see right here, there is, I took a lot of that stuff that was like kind of left over and I put it into these journals. Um, so yeah, all of this stuff is from the phone book, and I'm going to go through process on that, or I will have gone through process on that. We're just going through this book to kind of look at what I have done so far and what I did with the materials. And for the journal, for this kind of stuff, I just took, see, there's some ephemera from the box. They're just kind of thrown everywhere. I haven't quite gotten to, this is again echoes of pages past. It's like 3 or 4 days worth of ephemera that I was putting on the page. All these journals I just started, so there's some brand new things in there. Like I cut all those up this morning and pasted them in. Um, yeah, I'll probably show you the process on these beforehand. So if I'm talking, I don't know what order I'm going to put stuff in. I'm just talking now. Um, so you can kind of see me throwing them in anywhere, is leaving white places, like white spaces between each page if I don't want to use it. Like there's the way that I work with the paints and with painting the telephone book papers. I used the journals as the I use the journals as paint palettes, so that like there's paint in the journal and I'm making something and I'm not wasting the paint, and then I'm painting the telephone paper um, to kind of, not waste anything, but also to use up materials. Um, so on these journals, I get nice bright pages, background pages, because I'm like overusing the paint, right? Because I'm using it on another project as I go. So one of the books that I ripped up last night to fill this book was a cat, like a cat clip art book that I found at a for $1 somewhere. And so I cut it all up and put it all over in these different books. So you'll see all these little cat pictures everywhere, which I thought were cute. Um, yeah, I love all these journals. I picked all my favorite ones to start with because it's the new year and I love them. I love the Ranger Delusions. I love in the black or in this color in any size. I like the Strathmore journals, and then the Canson journals have a nice mixed media journal in different sizes. I have a storefront on Amazon. I will make a list and you can buy whatever you want. They have the best, Amazon has the best prices on the Ranger journals, like Michael's and other places. Just, I don't know why, but they just don't, unless you buy in bulk. Like this particular journal, I bought it in bulk because you can buy it. Like I'm going to use 1 million of them. So Pages of Echoes Past, you can see me layering cats and all kinds of stuff on top of each other. This was randomly in the box. Loose pages were all over the box. I have like, I kind of love that page, so I kept it as is. Pages that were already ripped up that I put back together in different ways. Yeah, this was another one where it was a bunch of different pieces of paper, and then I put it on top of the brown paint that was just lying there. This is a really good example of like pieces that were just like at the bottom of the box that I just kind of used up and threw in there. They these pages may end up looking completely different, but it's not starting from zero. You notice that I tape some of these down. Some of them I do a very, like I'm showing you here right here, a very loose like um glue down, because I want to be able to go in and rip if I want to, or like manipulate the pages. And the goal is to use whatever's there or never start from zero. So whatever's there, I'm just gonna peel it off, rip it, do all kinds of different stuff. So when you see me journaling, see how it's all, there's like little bubbles and stuff. What I'll do is I'll make that wet and I'll pull out the bubbles so you can see whatever's on the bottom. It depends on how I'm feeling. So I'm not too precious about gluing stuff down. I don't care about it being even. I don't care about it being right side up. I don't care. I just kind of dump it in there, and then when I get to the page, I will play with it until it looks right. If it doesn't look right, then I'll rip it out and I'll paste it to another page. It just depends on how I'm feeling in the moment. And I love to do that specifically with these size journals, like these 8.5 by 11s, these 9 by 12s. They're like so difficult to do a whole page. It's like a huge commitment, I feel. So putting in, and you end up making like a whole spread is what, 16 by, if it's 8 by 12, 8 by 11, then you're looking at 16 by 22. That's a huge painting that you'd be making. So every time you're having to make a big painting, and I'm into it, I love it. So, but I like to start somewhere. I like to have like a starting point. So that's what I do in a lot of these bigger size journals is I'm pasting things in there. I'm throwing in paint. I'm throwing in ink. I'm throwing in all kinds of stuff. So I've done that now, and I'll keep journaling over, the next little bit. But, ultimately, what will happen is that I'll go and do another layer. So up next for this is that I'll go ahead and up next, schedule wise in terms of this process, I will go through and make all those books, right? Make all those bags from the books, from the magazines. And then I'll start pasting in all those papers into the journals. If it gets too full, or if I feel like I'm getting too repetitive, like I've already looked in there and I see there's a lot of cats, then I'll pull more journals out and I'll fill those. There's no end to the amount of journals you can pull out, for me anyway, because I know that I'm going to make a lot in a year, and it's January, so we might as well just get all that ephemera out now. You can always buy more, right? It's better in the journal than not. It's my opinion. So yeah, and I'm using stuff that's like already around my desk because it's things that I already like. The thing that gets me is that if I were only to use things that I would pull out of a collection, out of my materials, it would be purple, it would be pink, yellow, and blue paints or inks, and then like cats and fairies. That's the only thing I would, or like women dancing. That's the only thing that I'd be using. I have little stickers of women from the turn of the century, like voting right level, kind of like women and suffragists. Um, and that's the only thing I would use to collage. And that's boring over and over and over again. So to keep myself challenged, I use up paints that have been out there for a long time. Like I don't usually use brown, so I was using brown this time. I'm like, I have no idea what to do with this. I don't often use yellows and reds, so that I always have a lot of those left over, and I never know what to do with them. Um, so yeah, it's like something I have to really think about, and that's what this exercise is like, challenging myself a little bit, learning, trying to expand, being uncomfortable, and then having fun at the end of the day. The best thing about art journaling is that you can be a maximalist. You can throw all kinds of stuff at a journal, and you don't need to be precious with it. You can just keep it as it is or completely paint over it and start again. But you can just put stuff down and walk away from it. It doesn't matter. As long as you've had fun, you've made the thing, you feel good after you've done it, doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be perfect. And so that's how I approach it. And that's what I'm trying to do this year, is try to use up my materials so they don't go bad, but also use that as a springboard to like grow in my art. So yeah, those are my marching orders, I guess. If you want to follow along with me, you know how. I'm right here. You can follow me on my other socials. You can do all kinds of stuff. Um, I just want to say thanks to those who've been there with me since I started about 7 months ago. And I want to just appreciate you for making this a really warm and welcoming space. Uh, yeah, I'm sorry there's no like final end with a nice page, but I think echoes of pages past is the way we're gonna go with it, because I did 5 days worth of work, and I wanted to share that with you. I wanted to show you what I've done. Um, yeah, hopefully I'll see you in the future. If you like my videos, stick around. There'll be a playlist at the end. Like, share, follow, all that stuff. Thank you. Bye now.